O'Reilly.
Are your wiper blades chattering, skipping, or squeaking? Don't let streaks or smearing on your windshield compromise your visibility. When it's time to replace your wiper blades, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and see our selection. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades while you wait. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You know what my favorite text is? A waypoint in the onX Hunt app to a goblin turkey. The list on the onX Hunt app features for chasing turkeys is long, but knowing exact public and private boundaries and land ownership details will help you find more places to hunt, whether that's on public or private. I'll be toting the Hunt app through the spring woods in a few states this year, and I recommend you do the same if you want more turkeys on your table. Also, onX has a special offer for you. Use code BEARGREASE to receive 20% off your membership at onxmaps.com/hunt this spring.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and this is a production of the Bear Grease podcast called the Bear Grease Render, where we render down, dive deeper, and look behind the scenes of the actual Bear Grease podcast. Presented by FHF Gear, American-made, purpose-built hunting and fishing gear that's designed to be as rugged as the places we explore.
There's three things that I check my phone for: emergencies at work, and there's only a handful of people that can send me those.
Okay.
Our kids, are getting stitches.
Yeah.
Or
Just
needing
not
rides home from
unusual.
work, which I don't think Clay knows how much of my life is devoted to
Those.
chauffeuring
Yeah.
and organizing chauffeurs for our children. And then the third thing that it would be I'd look at my phone for would be to fact check Clay.
Okay.
Or to do
That's the real thing.
or
So you
do-
feel like
or do research.
You feel like your job here is to fact check me.
Not to fact check you, but sometimes you'll be like, I don't know, look that up, and I'll just do it right then.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back on the podcast. I mean, I think I'm a valuable
This is
asset
a really diplomatic way to say that.
in that way.
Hey, let me tell y'all a story, okay? This actually happened this very day.
It's a true story.
This happened this very day.
Unusual.
And this is going to set up other stories inside this podcast, okay? So it's important that you pay attention. You may not be able to tell, but I'm kind of into fitness. And I was running this morning.
Here we go.
And I run a very long stretch. I won't tell you how far I run, but I was
It's
running
impressive.
down the highway. And I stopped to walk a section because I was running so far that I was walking down the highway. Lonely stretch, 2-lane highway. I've done this for years, decades. One time, someone stopped and asked me if I needed a ride. He was driving like probably a 1980s late model work truck, rough guy, no AAC. And he was like, "You need a ride?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm exercising." Oh, okay.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Today, years later, hundreds of cars pass me every day. A guy slows down, and I feel him slowing down, and he stops, and he goes, he leaves his window up, but he points at me, and he points in the seat, like the passenger seat, like
Sign language.
like you want to ride right here? And I smile real big, and I go, "No," and I do my arms like I'm running, like, because I can't talk to him. He's got a window up.
Is it not obvious that you're running? Is
Well,
that the
I'm
speed
walking.
that you're?
I'm walking,
okay.
and I'm covered in sweat, and I just look like a dirty guy walking
Right.
down the road. And he stops, to pick up this dirty guy walking down the road. And it's like, you want to get in my truck and ride with me? And I do my arms like I'm running, and I say, I'm running. I'm exercising. And he goes, oh, he does like a big face.
Oh, I get it.
And then he does the running thing. He does his arms up and down, and I go, yeah. And then he pumps his fists like, yeah, good job. Fitness, way to go. And then he drives off, and the man was wearing a pair of overalls. He had to have been in his early 70s, gray-headed, nice beard, glasses. Here's the hook of the story. He had a pair of decals, big decals on the back side of his truck of a man riding a mule.
You should have took the ride.
Beautiful, like a silhouette. You know how guys will have pictures on.
Yeah.
Tavin, do you know about that?
I know about pictures. I'm a little bit of an artist. Yeah, I draw things.
Huh.
Yeah, well, you give me a pen and pad, buddy, I'll go to town all day long.
It was like someone like you had done that.
Yeah.
And there were these huge, exaggerated ears, so it was a mule. This was a mule man. And as soon as he went around the corner, I was like wanting to wave him down. I just wanted to talk to the guy.
You missed it.
But that, to me, displayed the internal character of, a mule man.
Mule man.
I thought you were going to say it was the same feller that stopped years ago. I thought that was the hook.
Man, that would have been a good story.
Because you're like, now he's got a beard and he's all old kind of thing, and he only do sign language because he don't like to roll the window down.
Or the window, or the handle was broke.
He would have had a nicer truck.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the Bear Grease Podcast, everyone.
Good to be here.
We've got a fantastic lineup for you today. I'd like to introduce the people here. As usual, I will introduce our guest at the end. We're going to go counterclockwise, which usually is it's different than usual. I would like to introduce my dad, Gary Newcomb. Gary, Black Panther Newcomb, sitting over in the corner with the mannequin with the Black Panther head right there.
And the believer hat.
Good to see you.
And the believer hat.
Yeah, and the believer hat. How you doing, man?
Hey, real good. Real good.
You been playing golf?
A little bit.
Did you hear my comments about golf?
Yeah, I did.
How'd that make you feel?
Well, I think that's why you're a loser, man.
Always been disappointed in him.
No, really. You weren't cut out for it, but you did the same thing. I mean, you had a lot of diversity.
Yeah,
that's all I was saying.
Exactly. I felt like I hat tipped to exactly what you wanted to see.
But
from
also, you were a specialist. I mean, your diversity was fishing, canoeing, hunting, redneck trucks, good-looking women. I mean, it all fit in there.
Once.
Careful.
That was plural.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I had to bring you up in that because that was a good question. Okay, that was just the intro. Man, it's going to be hot today. To Gary's right, overpassing our guest is Misty Newcomb. Welcome, Miss Newcomb.
The only good-looking woman, right?
That's exactly right.
The rest of them were ugly.
That's exactly right. So there's something that we got to talk about later. I'm going to wait. There's a campaign going on in the world that I would like for Misty to introduce. But first of all, Brent Reeves, great to see you.
Thank you, buddy.
You're wearing the good overalls.
Always.
You're wearing your Waylon Jennings hat.
That's a Waylon hat. It's generic. When your coon dog's name's Waylon, and he's named after one of the icons of outlaw country music, real country music.
Yep.
It doesn't hurt. It's just it's a happy coincidence.
Gotcha.
So, but I like both of them.
Okay. Well,
So
good
that's
to
what
see
it
you,
is.
Brent.
Thank you, bud.
And back to the middle. We have today Tavin Dillard. Tavin.
Hey, Clay. How you doing?
Man, I'm good. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Hey, it's good to be here. I'm glad you got the air on in here. It's hotter than a wool sock full of baked beans out there. I'm glad I found my way in here.
Yeah, man.
Y'all got it cooled down in the office. Well, you call this the office?
Well, I call it the global headquarters of the former global headquarters of the Bear Hunting Magazine. There's an acronym for it. FR. No, I don't know.
I don't know. That's a lot of spelling. That's a lot of words you're throwing out. But I'll tell you, I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can be a help. I'm not sure what we're doing today, if we taxidermy animals or we just talking about them, but I'm game.
What do you think of the office, man?
I love it.
This is your first time in here?
I got my feet on a bear.
That's right.
Bear skin.
That's right.
I got antlers. I don't want to lean into this thing. These things are sharp over here.
Yeah.
Well, that fella, you earned that one, didn't you? And there's Who's that behind me?
Yeah, big bear right behind you.
How'd he get here? Did you do that?
I mean, in the space, I wouldn't say I did that. Like that's not the words I
They're
would
looking
use.
at a full body
It's
bear.
a big bear behind
I
me.
would say this is a bear that I harvested, that I killed.
Okay.
Ate his meat.
Yeah.
Ate
That's
his-
what I meant.
Yeah.
I just thought did was a quicker way to say
Now,
that. but
Tavin, where are you from?
I'm from Arkansas. Chancellor Park.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah. And I got here on my bike today.
Yeah, it's not that far from the global headquarters.
Well, not too bad. And I seen that the door was unlocked. So
yeah.
I thought,
Well, we had an extra spot. So,
appreciate you.
Tavin, I know your meemaw, she called me on the landline,
Yep. That's all she got.
and she said that in about 30 minutes you got to roll.
I know. She wanted me to fetch some Mellow Yeller for her, and she's got her eye on a bag of hot fries, and I ain't going to give her those because they had one bag left, but I'll bring her some pork rinds. She's going to be fine, but she do like to stick to a schedule, and for some reason she thinks I got to stick to her schedule too. And
Yeah.
and she's
So
my
you're just
meemaw.
going to be with us for like
Just
the
for a
next
little
30
bit,
minutes?
just enough to say hey.
Yeah. Well,
And,
man, it's great to have you here, man.
It's good to be here. I appreciate you letting
So,
me in.
Miss Newcomb, would you like to introduce the new campaign that's been started on your behalf and explain what it is? If you don't, I would be glad to explain it.
I would like to have my representative introduce it, but if you want to explain it, that's fine.
Well, if I introduced it, it would
It'd make the point.
exactly,
Right?
Tavin.
See, I'm following you.
Go ahead, Brent.
Hashtag let Misty talk. And it's time. It's past time for this. Can I read the review?
Yeah.
We get a 5-star review now.
Yes.
But this guy he's in deep.
He's in deep.
But he says, quote, I love everything about the podcast, but it drives me crazy every time Misty tries to tell a story. Clay just cuts her off. I feel so bad for that woman.
I think my mom wrote that.
She just wrote down what the rest of us were thinking.
I'm zipping my lips.
Okay.
Tavin,
Yeah.
thoughts?
I guess you let her talk, buddy. I mean, that's not even like a subtle, like wink, wink. Maybe don't do that. Just let Misty go. You got a story today, Misty? You got something you want to talk
I'm sure
about?
I got lots. I need a shirt. Hashtag let Misty
Let
talk.
Misty talk.
We're just going to take the next few minutes, and Misty, you just take us where you want to go.
And I'll try to talk, and Clay will be like, "Hold on just a second. Let me say something about that." It is true though. Clay always he likes to be the one, and we've got one of our kids is like this too. They always like to be the one that drops the punchline, and he always thinks that he drops the punchline better than me, and he definitely gets there faster, but he likes to well actually he doesn't. Did y'all hear how long we had to hear
Look
to
at
find
him
out
right
there was
now.
a mule? He's struggling.
Biting his tongue.
He's struggling.
What kills me is Misty, I want you to tell that story. What happened?
I know.
He's so excited.
Yes.
And then you start telling, and he's like, oh, she is doing that so wrong.
What he really wants is Misty tee me up so I can tell that story.
Want me to tell it? I'll tell it. Want me to tell it?
And that's what he always does. Like, do you want me to tell it? It's like, well, I was kind of enjoying telling it. But
Okay, let me.
See, here we go.
This is the way this goes. Tavin,
Yeah, buddy.
you'd let me know if your meemaw ever treated you like this.
Okay.
no,
'Cause
Mima always listened to everything you
there's
said.
a theme.
Or
Not
she'll
all
shut the door.
meemaws. But no, so
To the bathroom.
there'll be this incredible story that should take 5 to 7 minutes and have some enthralling content inside of that. And the punchline is, and then the turkey flew off. It's an example punchline. I'm not going to...
He's looking right at
Careful. Be careful now.
There are
My-
people that sometimes will tell this incredible story. It's this moment that you have with this people. And they might be like, yeah, they went hunting. And then the turkey flew off.
me. Pause.
And then they tell the rest of the story.
Hashtag
And
let
I'm like,
Misty
whoa!
talk. No. I'm always rushing to get to the punchline because I know I'm going to be interrupted about 45 seconds in. If I don't get there, I'm not getting it. So I've got to get there pretty fast.
There you go. There you go.
Now, is this just on a podcast, or is this supper time, family reunions, everything?
And there's certain contexts that it comes out more in. And I appreciate Clay's trying to keep things on, in a row in the podcast. So I'll allow it. But also I've noticed that when we're with my family, Clay often, I'm not kidding, my family is like a high interruption There's a lot of
I
interruption.
just learned if you're going to talk, buddy, you better get it in.
I
You
get
ever
that.
been around people like that?
I've
Tyler?
heard people that tell the food stories like that way. Yeah, but I guess what you're saying is you don't want to start the story like, "Hey, you want to hear about the time the turkey flew off?" and then you go into your story and you done told everything kind of
That's
thing.
right.
Like you got to build it up. You got to keep people caring about what you're doing. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. Whether I'm bike ramping, doing cannonballs at the city pool, trying to catch a turkey salmon. I mean, all those kind of things. You got to figure out how you're going to let people know that they wish they should have been there. Kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I know. Do you have? I heard a story one time you told about a crow.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's 100 stories about crows in my trailer park. First of all, they like to eat food. Everybody knows that. Just like any animal, they eat food. That's how that go. They ain't made out of Play-Doh. They animals. So that's how. So anyways, Candy Dilroy, she a little girl in the trailer park. She knocked on my door. I don't know how. She had a full adult, a growed crow, adult, right like this way, both little hands. So I don't even know how she knocked, and she caught that thing. I asked her why, and she said that's because they're easy to catch, which that really ain't a good reason to do stuff in life, just because you can do it.
Yeah.
And then she wanted to make a house out of it. There's a cardboard box underneath my trailer. She wanted to build like a house and put a prairie dress on it. And all of this was news to the crow. Like he was looking at me like, Bink, can you help me, sir? Like I don't speak crow, but like looking at his little Binks, I was like, I'm pretty sure he don't want to be here. So I came up with an idea. But the thing about it is, them crows, they, like I'm a good cannonballer at the city pool. And people's like, how in the world, Tavin, did you get so good? It's like, I don't know. How does a crow know to dive bomb an open bag of Funyuns? They just born with it, like that away. So the thing about it is, them crows being after my snacks in the trailer park, after Candy Dilroy caught it, and said, I'm going to put a bonnet on you and prairie dress, and you're going to live in that box. I said, Candy, if you love that crow? She goes, oh, yeah, I do. And I said, well, why don't you let that go? And if it fly back, it's meant to be kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
Boy,
the kind
that
of
crow,
thing.
The crow thought that was a good idea. Like, he ain't got thumbs because you know about crows, they got wings.
Right.
But when he floated off, he was like, bang, little thumbs up, like over his shoulder, like this. I don't know if they have
You
shoulders.
saw that?
Yeah, that's kind of what he did. That's what I felt like he did. I don't know where a crow's shoulders start, if they even have them. I ain't a crowologist, but he floated away happy. And I was like, Candy might have done the trailer park a favor because they don't want to. They're gonna tell their friends, hey, don't go back over there. And then I can leave my Funyuns out, hot fries out, powdered donuts. They like Dr. Pepper too. Didn't know that about crows.
Really?
Who don't?
Yeah,
How do they drink a Dr. Pepper?
straw.
Straw.
Yeah, they love the straw.
I didn't think they'd have the suction capacity. with
You
a
and me
beak.
both, Clay. You and me both, buddy. But anyhow,
Interesting.
yeah.
Hey, you're wearing a pretty cool shirt.
Yeah, it's a turkey salmon. They're pretty elusive, very rare.
Talk to me, brother.
Well, you know how to call a turkey?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know how to call turkey salmon because it's two parts with a turkey salmon. Because one is the call,
Yeah.
but you got to get up. You know how a salmon swim out the water like that away.
Wow.
And then they hard to find, but you're gonna
he's
find them in the water.
gyrating.
Well, I'm like a salmon. Imagine in
see.
your mind's eye if you'd a listener at home, because a podcast is for your ears, so they listening. The salmon going out the water, you got to give it the shake if you're going to try to catch the elusive turkey
Ethel
salmon.
Merman.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a two thing. Like you could call a turkey, all you need is your voice. You call turkey salmon, you're gonna need the body too. Is there turkey in here? Oh,
See?
that was Clay.
Yeah.
That was good.
Interesting.
You got me.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Well, that's good.
So I mean, if you
Hey.
ever catch one, I hope you get it mounted in
Do you-
here with these other animals, because I ain't been able to catch a turkey salmon.
I've never seen one, Tavin, but
Yeah.
I'll be looking out for them.
Rivers,
Laid down around
bodies
where
of
you
water.
live.
Yeah.
Hey, let me know if you have any insight into this.
Mhm.
This is a real live deal. Dad, do you remember the radio show back in our hometown where every morning they would just sell stuff? People would call in and sell stuff.
Swap shop.
It's like a swap shop.
Yeah.
Dollar
Yeah.
trade.
Dollar trade. Like it's pretty common.
Yeah, dial-a-trade.
I
Yeah.
remember dollar trade.
We're going to start a new section on the Bear Grease render of like a dollar trade, essentially. And I'm going to be the first guy. I have something that I legitimately want to sell.
Okay.
Okay. And this may be a little bit of a whiplash from maybe what you've heard me talk about from last week. Y'all remember I talked about the mule banjo last week? That last render, I went into detail of all he's done. So it's a long, complicated story. And for people that don't have mules or equine animals, don't even pretend to think that you have an appropriate level of empathy for a man in my position. Okay?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
I mean, like, if you don't have a mule, Oh, you don't know what I'm going through.
Nope, you're just guessing.
That's it. You're just guessing. Well, my friend Ty Evans, TS Mules, answered on his podcast, TS Mules podcast, about what I should do to fix banjo. And he gave a great answer, and it was, I mean, it's like as good an answer as could have been given, you know. And I just don't know that I can do it. And Dad, last time when I told Banjo's bucked me off twice, he's kicked me once. I came across a picture, and I can't show it because it shows some delicate parts of a man's body. High on the outside right thigh. Okay, and there was a big black spot about as big as a baseball right there on my knee, on my leg where he kicked me. So Dad said last time, you were like, answer's easy, sell it. And then I was like, nah, man, this is going to be a good mule. This is going to work out. I can work through this. And then this week, I go to meet a man that was on the former Bear Hunting Magazine podcast named Lloyd Hawley. Lloyd is an older gentleman in his 70s and basically made a living for 35 years in the mule business. Had a mule farm called Hollywood Mule Farm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You did a podcast.
Yeah, Bear Hunting Magazine podcast with Lloyd Hawley. I was with Lloyd Hawley this week. We were looking at my friend Michael Lanier, who's considering buying a mule. Me and Mr. Lloyd Hawley are sitting there watching Michael Lanier ride this really nice mule around. And I began to tell Lloyd Hawley about my situation. And there's something I like about people and it's not always right, and you can't always trust this type of advice, but I like the certainty of it. And sometimes this type of certainty just captures you, and you're just like, yeah, that's the right answer. I like give him the extended version of Banjo's progress. And I go, what do I do, Mr. Lloyd? And I expected him to go, well, Clay, you're probably going to need to do this. You're going to need to do this, da-da-da-da. He said, sell it.
Oh,
Wow.
Just
Sell
that
it.
quick.
That's what your dad
What
said.
do you think?
Think about that mule. I mean, once I get kicked in the upper thigh with a big old bone bruise, is what you probably had, deep bone bruise, I'd probably be done trying to ride that thing. Especially that ain't the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if it was one of your children, you hang on to them.
A little while.
a little bit.
or maybe they getting close to being raised and out the house. I don't know. You can't set a mule free like that, like go to college kind of thing. So.
oh, I thought you were saying if it had kicked one of my kids, you'd
No,
keep
I'm
it.
saying like if you got a child
Kid went rogue.
that's giving you trouble, you don't quit on a child, but you might quit on a mule. The way I see it. I don't know though. I ain't met this Banjo
Do you not
speak
think
of.
though that that's a reflection of a man's internal character?
I don't think so. Well, what do you need that mule for?
For lots of stuff, Tavin.
Does it do that stuff you need it for?
No, not
Well,
yet.
there we go.
But it could. It,
So you
it
say
might.
so it ain't old. This is a juvenile.
This
He's
is a
going
young
through like
mule with a lot of
teenager.
potential.
Okay, he's going through a rebellious stage.
Exactly.
Well, you just hope he comes out on the other side, because if he get into some of them extracurricular things teenagers get into, he may be no good for you later down the road. I don't know. I don't know what mules get into when they rebellious. But if they
Right.
kicking me like that, they powerful. I know
Right.
that.
Right.
That could have
Well,
broke your leg.
But that being said, this is a nice mule. So he is now officially for sale, like for real for sale. And I don't know how you can contact me if you'd like to purchase this mule, but I want to say he's for sale, not on sale.
Oh,
And
well.
he's actually a very, very beautiful mule. He's kind of a light sorrel. He has white socks, which it makes him a flashy mule. He's right at 15, maybe a little bit over 15 hands. He's been packed on quite a bit. Like you could take this animal and use it as pack mule today.
Oh, no doubt about that.
And I've ridden him 12 to 15 times.
Sounds like Brent wants to buy him.
No, Brent's mule poor right now. I'm good.
So it's a beautiful animal. I just don't know that I can get him over the hump. So the mule's for sale. And,
This is Dollar Trade.
Make me an offer.
You know what Dollar Trade, though, that you could trade? Like if somebody offered you something else, would you trade them, or you just want money for that?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it
What?
matters what they had.
Let's just think about that for a second.
Money.
What trade would be worth Banjo?
A new Chevy Silverado pickup, maybe.
Okay.
Somebody mow your yard for you.
We got one of
A long
those.
man. I know what a molar is.
Barrel take a new
But I don't need a
mountain
mule.
buggy.
Well, the mule's for sale. So that's all I got to say about
Now
that.
they got to contact you to get the price.
yeah, and
Okay.
I'm not
We're not-
always that accessible.
Gotcha. We ain't
So
talking.
they got to be
This is
creative.
exactly how Clay sells things.
Right.
He gets things and he's like, I'm going to sell it. And then he's like, I'm putting the mule up for sale. Makes a public announcement. There's no way to reach me to get that mule.
Sorry,
cannot-
Misty. We still got to keep him.
Exactly. And I'm not putting Clay up to sell the
Hey,
mule.
the last coon dog that I had him sold 2 times. Now you tell me if you think this is a reflection of internal character
Okay.
in a negative or positive way. But a guy was coming to my house like the next day to buy this dog. But I told him before he came, I said, buddy,
Scooter.
I'm taking this dog coon hunting tonight. And if he does good tonight, that may affect your trip tomorrow because I may tell you he's not for sale anymore.
This is
But I'll
like
see you
actual
tomorrow.
stuff that Clay does.
I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
That was Scooter, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then I go hunting, and what do you think Scooter did?
He did a good job.
Fantastic job.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
And so at midnight, I text the guy and be like, you should have bought him while you had the chance. And then I did it to the same guy twice.
Yeah.
And then finally, the third time when I really wanted to sell the dog, like for sure, I was a little embarrassed to even contact the guy. And so I didn't. And so I ended up giving him to a kid over in Oklahoma who's hunting him to this day, and Scooter's doing real good.
How many times I tell you? You gotta give him a shot. Hashtag save Scooter. I even put that out there.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. you
Yeah,
did.
that's right.
Yeah.
I put that on Instagram, didn't I?
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you ever coon hunted, Tavin?
No.
Never.
I mean, I've chased them, but I ain't been out there with a dog and a gun, kind of thing.
We could go tonight.
I'm pretty swift-footed.
Really? You look
Yeah.
wired.
I could get a raccoon in a headlock, but I don't know if I could take him all the way down, kind of thing.
Now,
I'll go with you. Take me out.
now, I've heard you talk about peacocks.
Yeah. Fully
Do
mature
you have
peacock.
one?
No, but I've seen them. They tear you up. They ain't friendly. I ain't friendly, but I drawed a picture of a fully mature peacock that had a squirrel in a headlock, and the squirrel was so embarrassed because, they get in people's gardens. Folks can't catch them all day long, and here comes a fully mature peacock with no thumbs. Y'all know about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they just got wings. Locked him up. Boom. And that squirrel was so sad, kind of thing. And so I drawed that picture once because I'm a little bit of an artist, like we talk about that. But no, when I was a little kid, I seen one get a hold of a 5-year-old like cousin of mine, scratch up the back of her little back, kind of thing. They don't want to be your friends. I don't know. Have you been friends with a peacock?
The only time I've ever communicated with one was I remember once driving down a road and had my windows down. We were coming back from a turkey hunt in Madison County, wildlife management area over in Madison County.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
And I remember a peacock sounded off right at an opportune time for me to hear it while I was driving.
Can you do the
And
sound?
it corresponded with the turkey hunting story. And so I yelled at the peacock as we drove by.
Can you
And
reenact?
later-
What does that sound like when the peacock yells? Okay, and then what did you do?
I just went, woo!
Okay.
Like that.
And then you guys were friends, or what?
I
How'd the
never
story?
saw him again.
Oh,
It
okay.
was just, it was
You might
just
have
like,
made him mad, kind of like that guy you tried to sell the dog to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dad, do you have any questions about Tavin's background or anything?
Anybody? He's got a good-looking bicycle out there. I mean, it looks like it was probably
It's got some miles on
the
it.
Swin in the 1959 era.
I got a question for you, Gary. Is that okay?
That's good, man. Hit me.
So the turkey salmon. Clay just said he ain't never seen one.
Yeah,
And I don't. What does it feel like to be a person? Because you got a believer hat on, and people say you ain't never seen one of them. How do you handle that kind of, I don't know, feedback?
The
pushback?
cynicism.
Yeah, the pushback or the criticism.
You sort of have to look at the IQ of the person,
Okay.
so.
Does that consider where it's coming from?
Yeah, there you go. That's a better way.
Now on the interwebs, I don't know them. They'll just wing out comments like, "When you gonna get a turkey salmon?" It's like, "When you gonna get one?" That's what I'm thinking in my head, but I don't say that out loud because you don't talk out loud on the interweb. You beep beep beep, type it out. But so consider the source.
Yeah. Keep your,
Consider the source.
keep
That's
your
good
head
advice.
up. Keep your head up, brother.
Okay,
Yeah.
appreciate it, Gary.
Hey, I found a relevant Black Panther pop culture data point this week. I was with my friend Lee and Patty Walt down in down where they live. And Lee points to an oar, a boat oar. I'll give you a prize of some sort, okay, if you know the answer to this question. It's a trivia question. There's a boat oar, and on the boat oar is a Black Panther, straight up Black Panther on the wide part of the boat oar. And Lee clicks on the television, and a movie comes on, and he says, I want to show you a movie clip, because I asked him about the boat oar. Like, tell me about the Black Panther on the oar. And there is a movie. And it's a scene where these two old guys are in like a public place inside of a building. And this one old guy is trying to prove that this other old guy doesn't know his stuff, you know? And so the one old guy goes, well, I bet you I can stump you. What does that mean? And he points to an oar with a Black Panther. And he goes, the question is, what is on the other side of the oar? And the man goes, a rabbit smoking a pipe. You with me? Do you know what movie this is?
We're tracking.
Oh, man.
Okay. He takes the oar off the wall. There's a Black Panther on one side. He flips it, and sure enough, it's a rabbit smoking a pipe. And the guy that didn't think the guy would know it was like, oh, really? But do you know why the rabbit's smoking the pipe? And the guy says, the rabbit is at ease because he knows he's smarter than the panther. Punchline. And it was a native, it was some type of indigenous or Native American like thing. A Black Panther and a rabbit smoking a pipe.
National treasure.
Wrong.
Dang.
Was this a cartoon?
It was a real
live action, you're saying?
live action. The movie is called The Edge with Anthony Hopkins. I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
We actually were
With the bear.
considered watching it. Yeah, it's about a bear.
Yeah.
Considered watching it yesterday, but we didn't.
Yeah. I did. I knew
So
I'd seen that movie.
total Black Panther reference.
Wow.
Black Panther, rabbit smoking a pipe. Why is the rabbit smoking a pipe?
It's just more proof that the Black Panthers exist.
Man, I got even more proof. This
Mo proof?
very week.
What about our specialist that you brought in here on the bicycle?
About what?
Black Panthers.
Well, yeah, what do you think about have you seen a Black Panther?
I've never known your dad to lie.
So you trust him.
That's good enough for
yeah,
me.
that's. I mean, I've seen things I don't know. Make out the in the distance in the shadows. I ain't seen Bigfoot. I ain't never seen him. I got some friends that have, but I ain't never seen him. But the Black Panther, I might have.
You might
Was it
have?
a mountain lion? I don't know. When you get toward the
What
sunset.
about your Meemaw?
What about her?
Where was she? Oh, I'm not trying to. I'm not.
I'm not. We could take this outside, Clay.
You look pretty wiry.
I am a little wiry. I'm scrappy too.
Did your Meemaw ever see a Black Panther?
No, Meemaw don't even like to talk about animals.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's because she had a pet raccoon years ago, and she don't know what happened to it, and she, you get attached to something and then it disappear. Although she do have a gray squirrel right now, she wants to build a kennel for, and she don't know how to. Like I'm in charge of that, and she wanna make that thing a home, and I'm like, that's a squirrel, Meemaw, but she got her own plans. So, but she ain't never told anything about seeing a Black Panther.
Really?
Nope, she ain't never seen
Now,
that.
see, I would say 65% of women over the age of 70 that live in certain parts of the country, we'll just say, have seen a Black Panther.
Those are hard hitting statistics that you throwed out.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised that your Meemaw doesn't fit in that based upon what I know about
Clay's
her.
always got a
Yeah.
statistic ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
65% of 70-year-old women in a certain region have seen. Okay. I got it. I may
should
have
just
to
ask
circle
her.
back to Meemaw and just ask her, hey,
should just ask
Yeah,
her
you need to talk to
directly.
Meemaw about Black Panthers because I guarantee you she's holding out on you.
she might be. She like to save that for parties and stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So the rabbit, the panther, pretty cool. Okay, the second Black Panther data point was this very week. A man sent me an actual flag of a Native American tribe. It was the national flag. I mean, there are sovereign nations of indigenous people inside this country, and they have flags. It's like an American flag. They have this kind of flag, and there is a flag that has a Black Panther on it. Straight up Black Panther. But the more I dug into it, the more I realized that they weren't necessarily saying that they were Black Panthers. Just the graphic of it had to be black. Because it couldn't be.
That's their favorite color.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And so it was supposed to be a cougar, not necessarily a black one, but it was black. You with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. Great. Well, Tavin, do you need to?
Yeah, all this talk about me, Mom, made me remember I got to get some stuff over to her on the bike. So,
man, thanks for coming.
Hey, it was good to see y'all. Thanks for letting me cool off in here.
Yeah, man.
It's hotter than a
grab
squirrel
you,
in a pen
grab you
share.
an orange
case.
knee-high on the way out.
We share
Take
our
it to
air.
Meemaw.
Appreciate that. Oh, yeah, she'll like it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to drop it on the way home. Them glass bottles, boy, they do a number on the pavement, don't they?
Mm.
But I'll
No
see what
doubt.
I can do. All right, y'all. We'll see you later.
All right. See you, Tavin.
Bye.
Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial whitetail clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial whitetail clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial whitetail clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more. This is kind of an odd podcast because I've got a second guest that's going to come in. So Tavin has gone, but I would like to introduce you guys to my friend Joel Berry.
Hey, Clay.
Joel,
How's it going?
good to meet you, man.
You too, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Just saw Tavin on the way
Brent,
out.
Misty, Dad, have y'all met Joel?
Hi, Brent. Hi, Misty.
Hey, Joel.
Joel's,
Glad to have you here, man.
I just met Joel for the first time just today, but we've
Right.
been following each other for a while on the social medias and
Yeah.
such.
There's real people behind the social medias, it turns out.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I have a character actually on social media.
Yeah. What do
Clay
you-
Newcomb.
Really?
Clay _Newcomb.
Okay.
Total character. Like when you're around,
Yeah.
like me, like totally different than the guy on the screen. Right, Misty?
No.
Let Mr. talk.
No, Joel.
Yes, sir.
So you are Tavin Dillard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a character I do.
Tell us just a little bit about like the character and I don't know. Just give us a little spiel.
Yeah, I started in 2006 on YouTube and kind of built an audience that plateaued for about a decade until TikTok and Instagram. And then it kind of found an audience in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
the last 3 months on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been building other things on social media as far as film and video production stuff. But Tavin is definitely one of my favorites.
So Tavin has like 450 something thousand people that follow him on TikTok.
430.
430.
Don't want to oversell it.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't want people to go there and be like, "Oh, I thought it was 450."
20,000 people stopped following
Yeah,
us.
yeah. Since the podcast. No, so yeah, I started seeing this Tavin. I remember the first time that I saw Tavin on Instagram.
What
And
was
it was one of those ones where you were sitting perpendicular. You weren't facing the camera. You were sitting sideways to the camera, and you turned your head and looked at the camera.
It had to be a poem. Was
Maybe.
it probably poetry or something?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And then this guy started talking, and I was just like, "What?" It took me like a couple of watches to be like, "Is this like what is happening here?"
Yeah.
But it was such a familiar voice. Not that I knew you, but the
Right.
voice being, I was like, "This guy literally could be my neighbor."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know 10 people like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I started watching it, and I was like, I was just like, this is pretty funny. And then I sent you I sent you a message about, if you remember. I think I was the first one, and I instigated our friendship, and I said, "Hey, I appreciate that you have a comedy channel that isn't crass."
Yep. I remember that.
Just like, because I watched a bunch of your stuff and I kept waiting for it to be just like really crass. Like I just thought that was going to happen because that's what comedy does. That's what comedy does. And you didn't. And I just thought, man, this guy, I want to throw him a bone. And
Yeah.
so I reached out to you, and then turns out you're not Tavin Dillard at all.
No, I'm not. Joel Berry. And that can be very disappointing to some people. It can make some people angry. Most people are pretty cool about it.
Have you ever run into someone who was happy to see Tavin and then found out?
You mean in person or
Yeah,
online? No, online. It's happened where there's sincere disappointment. I ran into a lady last year in a restaurant in Arkansas, and she saw me. And for some reason in my head, I'm like, I don't look like Tavin. So I go into a place, and she's like, You're Tavin. But she was okay that I didn't. I wasn't really like I was a character.
I was a little disappointed when I met you. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Just a little bit.
I could tell when you made me ride in the bed of your truck.
Yeah, and when I saw what white straight teeth you have, I was like, "Come on, man!" I mean, because Tavin, that's Tavin's signature is like the rough
Choppers.
the rough teeth.
And that's one thing Tavin never talks about is teeth because it's too obvious. So he never really talks about the dentist or brushing teeth because it seems like too obvious of a joke to make. So
Yeah,
it's just a little fun fact.
Yeah.
I was getting text messages the day when he premiered the Bear Grease hat. I'm watching all these, and I'm thinking, who is this clown wearing a Bear Grease hat?
yeah.
And I just started doing the deep dive. I was watching everything, and then I think you called me that day, or said, "Man, you got to." I said, "Who is this guy? Like, you got to check this out."
Yeah.
And it was fun.
I didn't know, Brent. You never comment. Do you like them? You just keep
yeah.
scrolling.
Oh no, man, I like them all.
Okay.
Absolutely. Bink, bink.
There you go. That's
And so our kids watch Tavin.
Our kids are big Tavin fans.
I
They're
didn't know
really big. And the day he wore a Bear Grease hat, Bear sent it out to the family thread. He's like, "Hey, y'all, Tavin Dillard has a Bear Grease
our
hat."
son Bear, like he's not real expressive. like you say something to him and be like, "Hey, Bear, we're gonna go, like do something incredibly fun," and he'll be like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pants are on fire,
and
Bear.
I
Okay.
said, Tavin Dillard's coming to our house next week. And I kind of got a little bit of a rise out of him.
You
It
got
was
those
kind of a
eyebrow
eye-
raise.
kind of an
Oh, eyebrow
rise.
raise.
And,
Oh.
and he turned his head and looked at me and he said, "What?" And I said, "Tavin Dillard's coming here."
That sounds like a win to me.
Yeah,
It was
it's
a big
pretty
deal.
deal.
So,
Mhm,
It
pretty
was a
big
big
deal.
You have no idea.
Yeah, that's basically
Hooray.
That's a cartwheel.
a square dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I hope Tavin made it back to his Meemaw.
Oh, he knows the way.
Hey, let's talk about Bradleyville Dynasty basketball. Was this one out of the box for you guys? Well, here's the truth of the Bear Grease podcast is that most of the people that are here every week don't. It's not like I'm telling you always what I'm gonna do. Like y'all don't know, so y'all kind of ingest this
Just like everybody else.
just like everybody else. So did the title, did any of it, were you like, oh, wow, where's this going? Was it exciting? Was it like, oh, no, it's sports? What'd you think?
The only reason I loved it. The only reason I wasn't surprised is because I know y'all. I know y'all are crazy about basketball.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when Alexis and I came up a couple of months or so ago, you're like, hey, y'all come up, stay, but we're watching a basketball game. You can come watch it.
Oh, yeah,
or
that's
you
right.
can go off and do your own thing. And, it worked out good that,
Yeah.
we all went out because the basketball thing was over early. But
Yeah.
I've known you guys all like basketball. And then Shep.
Would you
come
anticipate
on.
by my looks that I'm as good a baller as I am?
No, I would not. I wouldn't, absolutely
It
not.
I wish
Actually-
Tavin was here. I'd ask him.
It
but-
actually
he'd
is
have
kind
some
of
thoughts.
funny because Clay, we'll go to
that was a joke.
You want me to not say what I'm going to say?
Well, I don't know what you're gonna say. I'm joking
let Misty
about me
talk.
being a
Yeah,
great.
hashtag let Missy talk. Can we just not for every podcast, but just for this one? Let's just every time Clay cuts me off, let's remember that. But Clay actually will go and play basketball, and he is fit. He does run and stuff, and so he's got stamina, and it's kind of funny because you could tell Shep loves pickup basketball, and so sometimes we'll go places and do pickup basketball with him, and Clay will go out there, and Clay's kind of a,
Scrappy.
scrappy. That might be a nice way to say it. He does not look like a basketball champion, but he gets out there and he can
He's our
he can
champion.
stay with people and he's real. It's kind of
Hey,
fun.
do you remember
It's
that
always fun.
time that I played pickup ball?
I don't know.
in
You should tell this
Fayetteville?
story. Yeah.
Let's just say I was the old guy,
Okay.
and there was a group of young men playing ball, and I was in jeans and boots, not cowboy boots, but like hiking boots,
Uh-huh.
and let's just say
You smoked
things
him.
didn't go so well for them,
For the youngsters.
You schooled them.
and
He
and
did.
they got mad.
And they
One of them
did.
got mad at me, and I later came and apologized to him. A young guy.
When we saw him at
Because-
Shepherd's
So, like, these third-
basketball game that afternoon, and we realized Clay smoked a 13-year-old and was kind
That
of
is not
sassy
true.
about it.
There we go.
That is not true.
Oh,
he
were
was
you-
like
you
6'4".
You talk smack to him too on the court?
I did not talk smack to
Okay.
him.
He didn't
Yeah.
talk smack, but he wasn't
No.
humble. I mean,
Gotcha.
it was like if you're going to be the old guy and you're going to
That
like
is
take
not
these
true.
little young teenage
I was
boys'
very humble.
ego.
I just didn't give him any slack, and he got mad at me for playing defense too tough.
Hey, life's hard.
I did not.
No,
I
life is
never
hard.
breached my value system of.
What'd you
like-
apologize for then?
Well,
Making him cry.
I can't really remember the details.
I
of the
just think
story.
you were a little bit content with yourself, and
I was.
you kind of felt
I'm sorry, everybody.
Do you like point
This
to
is
the
my
sky
world.
and yell "woo" after you score?
I mean,
that
it's
kinda-
like
In your
whoa.
face.
Yeah, that kind of
And
stuff.
you're
Like not
grounded.
to him, but to
It
you know.
wasn't like that, but it was the defense was just a little bit sassy. I mean, it
Okay.
was like, come on,
Yeah.
these are teenage
So
kids.
so now the whole world knows all of my basketball highlights. That one time in Fayetteville and that one time at Clarksville. That's all. That's all there is. There's nothing more. So like, what did you think of the Bradleyville podcast?
I thought it was good.
Joe.
I grew up in Dardanelle, so Clarksville's not too far from there. That's
right.
right over there. Yeah, it's good. Well, I mean, it didn't surprise me because you dig into history on this podcast, so I wasn't surprised. And the sports thing I thought was cool because you think about how many games are played every year after year after year, and people have records and teams and scores and whatever, but they kind of get glossed over after a while because it's like current teams usually only care about what they're accomplishing
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I was a kid, it's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
So to spend time on the story, I thought it was valuable and interesting.
Well, it's of note that some of those records still stand to
Yeah.
this day, like the 64 game winning streak in Missouri high school basketball. You know, Leon Combs said it's tied. There was a school that tied it, and I don't know that story, but that still stands. Dad, what did you think?
You know, I thought of Hoosiers. I just thought, you know, we love a good sports story. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're an athlete or not. I mean, it just everything is entwined in that thing. I mean, life, just whatever you want to dig out of it. The story was awesome, but all of the like hidden truths and character stuff was really, really amazing. You know, how these kids were coachable. You know, you gave the list of 3 things, you
Right.
know.
Right.
I mean, that they were coachable. They were ready. They, you know, they did what it takes to be successful, but they had to have some direction. They couldn't do it in the 50s because they had no gym. They had no
Right.
direction. They get a little direction, get some backing from adults, and I mean, they just go crazy. And, you know, it was beyond basketball to me.
Yeah. Well, there was so many stories. It was kind of like pick your story. Like this book is full. Mr. Leon Combs' book is just full of history. It's almost like a Bradleyville high school yearbook. You know, there's just all these pictures. He actually has pictures of the Howardville team that they beat
In the state playoff?
in the state. Yeah,
Oh,
and he
wow.
went and interviewed those guys.
Yeah.
And he did a great job in this book. But the pick your story thing, I chose Leon Boyd to kind of highlight as the one character from the team that I just had access to. He was just up there still in Bradleyville. A bunch of those guys are still alive. And David Combs was the hero of the 1968 team, which is Leon Combs' cousin.
He's the one that passed away.
No, that was Daryl Paul that
Okay,
passed away when he
Paul,
was
yeah.
27.
Yeah.
But David Combs, like, there's a whole nother story in him. David Combs was a big-time coon hunter, just like Leon Boyd. And the story of him going down to Arkansas Tech because the coach was a coon hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And there's pictures in the book of his coon dogs and him with his coon dogs. And there's so many things I'm now kicking myself because I didn't put this in the podcast, but there was a quote in the book about Leon Boyd. It said when he went down a hill in the Ozarks going to his dogs, it looked like a fallen star shooting down off the mountain because he was so fast going to his
wow.
dogs. He was, and that's the old man that we hunted with, me and Shepherd. And man, I just can't get enough of these older guys. Man, Leon Boyd, the last person on the planet that he expected to show up to his house was somebody wanting to put him on a podcast. I mean, like, literally, this guy, I mean, he has a flip phone. He doesn't, like, I don't know if he's ever listened to a podcast. And his humility, I said it, and I hope it made sense, but it's like it protruded from him with great force. That's the way I described it. It's just like you're around him and you're just like, this guy is just so humble. He's so, I don't, you meet some people that, like, that's not the way you describe him. And it's not necessarily bad, but you would say, man, he was charismatic, or he had this or did this. It's like Leon Boyd was just like, that's what came off of him. And
A lot of folks that you've talked to that have been highlighted on this thing, especially from that generation, are like that.
yeah,
You know, they take solace in, like, the basketball. They enjoyed that so much, but they were playing on a dirt floor, you know, on the ground. They were shooting hoops that the blacksmith made, but it wasn't picking cotton. It wasn't moving rocks. It was something
Right.
other than that
Yeah.
that they could focus on.
yeah.
And to this day, he's 78 now?
He's 78.
Yeah. He's happy and content to talk to you about that and to go coon hunting because it ain't picking cotton. It ain't moving rocks. It ain't, you know, they're satisfied and happy to be where they are in life. And there's a lot in that to being in my world, so in my way of thinking, of being happy where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not happy, do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm happy.
What'd you think, Misty?
Oh, I thought it was so entertaining. I really enjoyed it, and I listened to all but the last 5 minutes of it with Shep, and so
What'd he think?
He really enjoyed it, and we would pause and talk about it, and it was really good. And I would say, now which one was this? So I kind of heard some of the stories leading up to this,
Yeah.
So I kind of knew what was coming, but I thought it was great.
I wanna tell this one story, and then I want to come back to specialization versus being a generalist and kind of qualify that statement. But I got to tell you this story, and it just didn't fit into the podcast. But so Leon Combs, he's 87 years old. He was the main guy that carried us through the podcast, and he was as sharp as a tack. Like a lot of times, I've interviewed a lot of older people, and sometimes like they've never listened to a podcast, so maybe they don't understand the medium. And man, he was just like, he sat down with me and he was just like, tell me what you need. And I said, well, I'm going to do a podcast on this. Okay. And he was just like so on point. And like he would say, now, would this story be relevant for you? And I'd be like, well, not really. And he was like, okay. And he was just really good. But he did tell me one story that I wasn't able to use. But, and I mean, he told it for me to put on the podcast if I wanted to, so he wouldn't mind me telling it. But when he was a toddler, his father murdered his mother, a murder-suicide, and his mother and father passed away. They ship him out to California for whatever reason. I don't know the details, but he went to California as a 2-year-old. And then some family member back in Bradleyville, Missouri, communicates with them. And this is would have been in the 30s, I think, when he would have been born, 87 years from right now. And the family member says, we'll take the boy. So they send him back, and the Bradleyville mailman delivers Leon Boyd to the man and woman that were related to him, but would become his father and mother.
That is crazy.
And he never knew until he was older what happened. He just thought it was his dad. And he had like this wonderful, great childhood and a really stable home. They were very poor, but it was a very stable home. And then Leon Combs goes on to become like extremely financially successful. I don't know this man well, but I cannot. He's been, let's just say, he's been very, very financially successful coming out of Bradleyville, and he said he was the first kid out of Bradleyville schools that went to college, and he was in the military, and he hitchhiked out west, and he just had this wild story. It's actually in this book right here. He gave me a book. I forgot about it. Okay, this isn't all about his life, but it's called Bradleyville, My Hometown, a collection of short stories and memoirs. But anyway, Leon Combs, what a guy.
Wow.
What a guy.
Yeah, and so, these are stories that you can't even tell. I mean, it wasn't a part of the basketball thing, but
Could have been a 2-part series.
Could have been.
I have a basketball question. Is it common to tile a gym?
Maybe during that time, I don't know.
Because it seemed like, man, they had to finish at halftime because they couldn't stay on their feet.
It was so
They were
Yeah.
slipping. And I was like, tile, that sounds, like a
Maybe
challenge.
back during that time, that's what they did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably a financial deal. Hardwood would have been too expensive. They only had $1,500 plus donations.
Yeah.
But-
So the general idea, like basically this story introduced us to another story that has more to do with life, which was, so when I first told Misty this story, this is where Misty's fingerprint is on Bear Grease in a lot of ways. I told her about Bradleyville and these guys being coon hunters, and she said, hey, you ought to talk about David Epstein's book about specialists and generalists. And I said, great idea. And we actually tried to get David Epstein on the podcast. We had a very short time window, so perhaps he would. I'm certain he'd have probably come to the render with Tavin.
Probably.
But
Rode on the handlebars.
We had
That's right.
it was a very short time window. We couldn't make it happen. So I brought in the expert, Misty.
You nailed it.
After you heard
You
that
did good.
conversation, do you think it came out the way we wanted it to?
I think it came out. I thought it came out great. Shep and I were, when we listen to podcasts together, we often stop them and give our own little sub commentary. And on that part, because he would like to be a specialist. I think he would prefer to be just a monofocused person.
Yeah.
It'd be easier for him to do that.
But that's an appealing proposition.
Yeah.
It's just do the thing you love and nothing else.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean, that's a appealing proposition.
Yeah. So we were talking, and Shep, he actually went and brought out another book when we started talking about this that he was reading back that someone gave him about skill development and basketball. And he said, y'all should talk about this. And he talked about, this guy was saying everybody should be, it was like the pro specialist argument that these guys make $17 million a year because when people throw them the ball, they can get a shot off fast and always make it. And he said, this was a book that Shep was reading. I don't even know where he got it from. And I was like, well, because I didn't like the argument. I was like, well, I said, that's a pretty narrow, there've been, and what I always tell the kids, there've been 3,000 people who've played in the NBA their whole life. Get a plan B. You don't have any need to think that that's genetics are against you on this one. We don't have the height to play in the NBA. So anyway, so Shep.
That's not what that boy in Fayetteville thought when he played against me.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy.
I taught him some life lessons.
That dude's
right.
homeless right now.
That's right. So anyway, so Shep said, well, he said, I don't agree with that. He said the counter, and he just volunteered this. He said the counter argument on that is LeBron James gets paid, and he somehow knew LeBron James' salary off the top of his head because he can get shots off, he can do this, he can do that, and he named all the things that LeBron James does on and off the court. And it's like a good thinking, Shep. I mean, at least I don't think that success should be quantified in terms of the millions of dollars that you make, but
right.
I was grateful he was thinking.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to, if I could go back and redo the podcast, I would probably say that I think specializing is great. I mean, we need experts. There are things that I have specialized in that have, made me an expert in this thing, quote unquote, at some level. And the only point I was making is that sometimes these other things can make you even better than if you had just specialized in it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I don't know that was too clear in it.
Yeah, I think what we would say is that it's okay to have a thing you're really good at. Like it's fine to
love.
And probably there should be something in everyone's life that they spend 10,000 hours on and learn and get to do, but we should all be complex people. Like I think that's the most important thing on our end is that a lot of times you are a specialist at the cost of all these other things, where specialization doesn't just speak to how you spend your time, but it speaks to who you are. You are this thing. And what we want to communicate to our kids is you are not a basketball player. You are not a smart person. You are not a musician. You are first and foremost a human being, a spiritual being, and someone that has a lot of complexity to them. Put those things you like on that backdrop. Don't let those things be the backdrop for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was clear. It was a good point. It's not what you are, it's who you are.
Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more.
I noticed in my career that you had several types of highly successful people, far above where I ever accomplished. And some of them were great CPAs that a guy kind of like me that was a generalist could use. And you pull this guy in and you call him off to the side and you go, "Hey man, tell me what to do." You know, well, this guy's so good, he ends up like owning the world. But the guy that is a generalist hires people like that and pulls them in. He's got all these specialists around him, and a couple of them are just so sharp that all of a sudden they get up here and they kind of become generalists. But it's a personality thing. The crazy kid in college ends up with that personality where he can sell, he can communicate, and so you need both kinds. Exactly what you said.
Do you think I relayed your philosophy on bringing us up well on the podcast in a few sentences I talked about it?
Well, I thought so. I thought it was pretty clear. One thing that was real clear to me, though, was the spousal abuse deal. You came up with a new way for this hashtag Let Misty Speak. It's almost in reverse. I could not believe you did this, man.
What did I do?
Wait till Juju hears it.
Oh, no. What did I do?
Okay, here's what you did. You're asking Misty a question. And the question is, why do rural communities like basketball so much? But before she had a chance to answer, you gave
the answer.
You gave you gave like a 10-page dissertation on it. So by the time Misty had it, I mean, she was real polite, and she took her 10 seconds and tried to not make you look like an abuser.
And she didn't say, remember, I'm the one that told you all that stuff you just said earlier.
yeah. So
You're going to play golf tomorrow,
I
pal.
tell you, and what made it even worse, once she so politely repeated a few of the things that you had already said, because there was nothing else to say.
She actually said that.
You totally, you totally ignored her answer and immediately said, I wonder how many kids out there have killed bear and shot a deer with a bow. I mean, just totally. I mean, like,
sorry,
this
Misty.
could be
That's true.
this could be taken to court.
I just feel vindicated today. I feel
When this is over, we're toting you out on our shoulders.
Hey, but it was good.
You're right.
You have an awesome spouse. You have an awesome spouse.
You're right.
Remember that crow Tavin was it talking about?
Yeah.
How's he taste?
Yeah.
This is
Eating
my
the crow.
favorite Bear Grease memory.
Well, I did it another time, and this was, I'm aware of what's happening here. There was another time, and it just was the edit. I wanted to ask Misty a question, but I had to put in something that I had said first, so I talked for a real long time, and then she got to talk. Do you know what part I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, y'all didn't even catch
Which
it?
time?
I didn't.
Maybe I could get away with that again.
Yeah.
Hey, the truth is we all do that all the time. I mean, it's just, we ask a question. We already know the answer. We want to tell them what we think about it, and you just kind of, I don't know, but we all do
Story of my life.
we all do exactly what you did at times. But anyway.
I did pick up on that, what he's talking about. Because I was there too, and I also, what Clay cut out is when I looked at him, when he asked me that question, I said, you just answered it.
She actually said that.
Really?
I did, and he cut that out.
And see, I'm not defending myself, but I did answer the question before she had a time to start, and she said, "We just said it," and then she went on. So I had to cut that out. When you're building and editing a podcast, and the Bear Grease Render is supposed to be behind the scenes of Bear Grease, there's sometimes just a quantity of information that has to be there. And that was all I had. It was real hard to get that audio because we're sitting there with parents and people, and we're in a basketball game, and it's like I just had this recorder, and I pulled it out, and I just do it real quick. And I knew what I needed to be said, and I wanted to include Misty in that.
Because I had told him what needed to be said earlier. Like on this exact topic.
Again.
Not on the whole thing, but on
I
this.
wish Tavin were here.
Yeah, he's gone.
It went over real well.
Yeah, it was
like
good
everything
teamwork,
you guys do.
It was good teamwork.
It
there.
worked.
Well, what was I was going to ask one of you, what was the most, well, okay. I'll tell you what my favorite part was. Every single time that I have listened to that basketball game, I really wouldn't think that like the recording of an old basketball game would,
The 4 overtimes?
would like get me like
Fired up.
emotionally stirred. I was listening to it in my truck and like got cold chills, which is a rare thing for me. But I think just in getting inside of this story and meeting these people and going to Bradleyville, you're kind of immersed into it, and you meet Leon Boyd and you just see his life.
And just the underdog nature of it. I mean,
but when that old radio, here in Columbia, Missouri, the Bradleyville Eagles playing the Howardville Hawks, and then 4 overtimes, 3. I mean, it just was a neat. It was so cool, and I discovered that this audio recording was even available by Leon Combs. I didn't realize it, but the CD was in the back cover of the book.
Yeah, how about that?
And he said, yeah, you can use it. Put it on there. And I just thought it was a neat.
Yeah.
Did y'all think that was cool?
Oh.
yeah, I thought it was super cool to be able to hear that.
It's really
Yeah.
neat. One thing I wanted to know was how tall is this Combs guy? And I mean, did they have any big people on that team?
6'3". There were 3 6'3" guys, and then like a 6-footer.
That's pretty good.
5'10".
But see, they they fouled out 2 guys that were 6'6",
And
Yeah.
6'5", yeah.
and that was part of their strategy.
Yeah.
So if they hadn't have done that, I mean, their strategy worked. Their
Yeah.
plan worked.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty incredible. Pretty
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Bradleyville Eagles. So what was the favorite part of the podcast, Brent? Like, was there one spot that you're like, that was cool?
My favorite part was Shep.
Really?
Yep, at the end. Of course, I've known Shep majority of his life, and I know when he asked you the question, are we going to go back and see this guy? Are we going to be friends? I think he took a lot of value in it, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of it was just because of the basketball thing. I know that. But I know that kid, and I know he had a good time when y'all went hunting up there. And he's a smart lad. And I think he was soaking up a lot of things and seeing
Yeah.
a lot of potential and a lot of fun and good times that he could have
Mm-hmm.
being in the presence of that guy. So that my favorite part was old Shep soaking it in and really digging what was going on up there beyond basketball and something that happened before his daddy was even born.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my Shep's take on it was
I put that on
liked it.
there. I did because it actually surprised me, and I tried to say it in a diplomatic way. Like Shepard,
I didn't let Shep hear that part because I kind of knew it was coming. And that was the,
Shep is not pumped about coon hunting. Like I've drugged the kid around his whole life. Like Misty sent a picture on our family text thread today of a picture of all the kids with the dogs, and I mean Shep's like that tall, and it's like it's not always fun.
to be the youngest child.
No telling how many coon trees he's been to. No telling how many coons he's carried out of the woods on his back. Carrying him by the hind leg, strode over his shoulder. It's just not his thing. Like he's now 14, and he will go with me occasionally just because I'm like, "Come on, Shep, let's go," and he'll come.
He's your Clay.
Yeah,
Is
he'll
that
probably
right,
go
Gary?
play golf.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't think he will. He's had the opportunity recently, and he's just so he is truly very. And I think that's part of what we've really challenged Shep to be is that's like at different seasons of your kid's life, you kind of focus in on different aspects of their character that you want to build. And that's our agreement with him because we are letting Shep specialize more than we've ever let him specialize before. And we've been real slow at that. I mean, there are people who truly believe that we have made mistakes, that we did not.
They would be like athletic advisors type people, like coaches and other people.
That we haven't done given him all the opportunities he needs to be developed at age 14. And our thing with him is that, hey, we actually do feel like this is a season where we can let you expand a little bit. You're going into high school. He does have good character. He has, he's outgrown the context that he's been in.
I had somebody ask me what our philosophy was with our kids because I didn't want the podcast to be all about Shep. I just thought it was I just wanted some complexity to the story, and that's why I was interested in the story because we love basketball. But Shepard has, ever since he was 2 years old, loved basketball and has really dedicated himself to it all these years. They went through the phase of, I'm going to play in the NBA. And we're like, no, you're not. This is never going to happen. And basically,
Nothing like shooting a kid's dreams.
Very
down.
Well,
That's
listen,
what I'm
you should
saying.
hear
Tell
the
him,
boys.
Misty. Okay.
Okay, I'll tell him.
quickly.
The
I'm
boys-
making a point here.
The boys it's a joke in our family because one time we watched the NBA draft, Malik Monk was getting, and by the way, the night that Malik Monk from Arkansas got drafted, the announcer on ESPN said, "Now that guy shot more squirrels than anybody else on this floor tonight." And I was like almost crying. I was so proud. I was like, "That's right, Malik, you have. You're a squirrel hunter from Arkansas out there getting drafted." But
Malik, if you're hearing this, brother, come on to the Bear Grylls venue. We'll put you right beside Tavin.
because that's what he talked about, being out in the Delta with his grandpa, shooting, hunting squirrels. But anyway, so he, the night he got drafted, we were watching, and the boys were just enjoying listening to all these little speeches that these guys were giving about their mama and how she believed in them when no one else did. And both of my boys said, "Man, if we ever get drafted, we're gonna stand up and say our mom told us from a very young age genetics are against you. There's no chance you will ever get to this spot. She faithfully took us to practices, faithfully cheered us.
But she did not believe
she
in
did
us.
not believe that we could make it very far. And I was like, darn right, I told you that. Have a plan B.
So-
Do well in school.
So Shepard wanted to be so focused in basketball that for years we just I never emphasized it. I never validated him that much. Just like whatever, basketball is not that important. And we pushed him away from it and he stuck with it. And then basically a year ago at the time when, if they're really going to have a future in basketball, are going to go for it, it's time to get behind him. And so we actually had a family meeting where we sat down and we said, Shepard, you have all these years stayed dedicated to basketball. And I mean, I could go through all the stuff he does. It's pretty incredible, the amount of discipline that he has and how much he loves it. And I said, you have become what we wanted you to become. Because the last thing we wanted, Joel, was to have a kid that was like a superstar, ball hog, like arrogant little punk kid that's a star basketball player. We've all seen him. We didn't want that.
Who was a star basketball player but had no moral character.
Right.
And gets into some environment and he can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't want his identity to be, I am a star basketball player.
Who also has an
built.
age limit on when that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that identity.
Only lasts so long.
Yeah.
And so, as I found out after my night in Clarksville,
Except for that one afternoon in Fayetteville.
Yeah, and then 20 years later, they'll probably make a podcast about that one day. So Shep was just disciplined. The biggest thing we're working on Shep right now inside of basketball and the levels he's playing in is to shoot it rather than pass it. Like we taught him, like, don't be a ball hog. If you score all the points and nobody else scores points, that's bad. Like we really trained him a certain way of thinking about sports, and it's become ingrained in him, and it's become his default. And then this year, we said, hey,
you're better than the rest of these
Well, we
kids.
didn't say it. The coaches were like, shoot.
You passed the test. Now we're going to get behind you, and we're going to talk about a formal declaration of intent. And we're going to get behind you and say, okay, now we're going to let you specialize. So if I could say it that way. And so he tried out for a team. He's on that team.
I'm going
He's
to have
playing
to pause
with some
you there,
elite
though.
players.
I mean, we told him we're going to get behind you. We're going to support you. We're going to let you try out for some teams that were bigger than the context that he was in at that time. But our deal with him was that as a high schooler, he's got the internal maturity to now say, I have to be responsible for my own character. And the phrase we gave him is panoptic management. We want him to be complex, not simple. And so he's got, there's bargains. This is a deal. Right. And we don't want him to have one muscle that's really strong and the rest of his body that's weak and not able to do anything. So I want his room clean. I want him to do the chores. I want him to have good grades in school. Shep is real smart, and he should have a plan B.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the height gene that he got is going to take him. And even if it did take him to places, I would want him to have character when he got there and be able to be complex, be well-read, be educated, do those things.
And so that's what I meant on the podcast when I said we do sports, but we do it on our terms. I don't want it to sound like we're trying to push our kids away from specialization, because specialization can be good, but you just need more, and it's helpful to have more. And so that's why, like, I was talking about Shepard not liking coon hunting so much. That's why when we came away from Leon Boyd's house, Shepard instigated that conversation. There was no mics going. Like, the last thing he thought was I was going to talk about what he was saying to me. I mean, we're pulling out of the driveway, and he goes, Dad, are you going to be friends with Mr. Leon like you are James? And I just looked at him, and I was like trying to figure out what he was asking, and I just gave him a real practical answer. I said, I mean, Shep, I just met Mr. Leon. I don't, he's a very nice man. We had a great time with him. He lives a long ways from us. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to be able to come back over here that much. And he said, Dad, I don't think it's right for you just to have him on your podcast and us never come back over here. And I said, do you want to come back over here? And this is a boy who's not pumped about coon hunting. And he said, yeah. And I love that because Leon Boyd is just the kind of guy that you would want your son to look up to. And Shep liked it that he was a ball player, but I could tell Shep just liked this old man. And that's good.
Yeah.
I liked it. Like Leon Boyd has character.
I didn't hear it in the podcast, but Leon Boyd played basketball on organized basketball till he was 70.
Yeah.
And he got a shoulder injury coon hunting and had to stop.
That's right.
I thought that was a pretty cool way to go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
Wait, baby. Talking about a kid specializing, I hired a guy one time to be a banker out of college for one reason on his resume. He was the top 3-point shooter at his college. And really, maybe I didn't have the original thought, but the guy and myself that were hiring him, the guy, he pointed out anybody that is the top 3-point shooter in their conference in college is going to be a top banker or whatever field they get into. And sure enough, this guy was a whiz bang. And I mean, he's just skyrocketed.
Really?
Yeah. He actually,
I know what you're talking about.
He actually got out of banking, and I would just bet that he's really, really done well. I know when I checked on him 10, 15 years ago, he had done really well.
You think it's from a confidence level or?
Well, it's discipline.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm a loosey-goosey guy and I don't finish projects and I just monkey around, I'm going to be the same way when I go to work for you. But if I got my act together and I'm shooting 1,000 shots a day, I'm going to shoot 1,000 shots for you when I go to work for you. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said. Now, if that's all he can do is shoot, I mean, as you're moving through this shooting process, you got to develop a personality where people like you. You can communicate, you can sell. Tavin knows that. So
I think what you're talking about too is drive. And I think that's the thing about with sports, with hunting, with whatever you've got your kids interested in. I do think it's important to let them have things they're passionate about because it produces that drive. You can't, it's hard. I mean, there's some subjects in school that we just have to make our kids work hard at. When your child is motivated towards something, I think, and that's what I love about sports, is that it is a place to really develop character. And it's the same thing I like about hunting. Like when Bear went hunting last year, to me, it doesn't really matter as long as it's, wholesome stuff, what they're into. It's good to let kids have passions. It's good to let them care about something because that drive produces things in them because they want to do it. And so that drive helps them learn discipline, learns how to take defeat, learn how to take all the different challenges that come into stuff. So it's good to, my concern with the current generation would be that there's a lot of kids out there that don't really have drive for much at all. And so it's good to let them go find drive and to identify things that would distract you from finding things you're passionate about and limiting those things.
And even in losing, Leon Combs won 2 games in 4 years.
Yeah.
But he went on to be successful because, he stayed with it for 4 years. And one of my favorite parts was when he said, we got beat 64-6,
Oh,
but he couldn't wait to get to the next game. And you ask, I wonder why. It's so he could bounce a basketball on a hardwood floor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, if you've been in a box your whole life and you get to look out every now and then, I mean, that
You
looking
don't care
out,
if you get slapped in the face when you look out. You're going to look out.
Yeah. I mean, so anyway.
Yeah, that was interesting. One thing, Leon Combs, this is totally off the topic of sports. Leon Combs, he told me when he went out into life, he lived this very isolated rural life in the Ozarks. And he said that the old timers used to do what they called saucer coffee.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. Oscar Newcomb did that.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what it is.
Well, I don't know. I've never heard of it talked as like a professional, but he would just take his coffee and put it in his saucer and drink it out of a saucer to cool it off.
That's exactly. Yeah, he's Mr. Leon Boyd said that when he went, I think he went out to California when he was like 19 or something, and he saucered his coffee, and he said the people made fun of him, and he was like, "What? We get made fun of?
We don't saucer coffee in California."
And he said, yeah, you get a cup of coffee, hot coffee, and you pour it into a saucer so that it has the surface area spread out, and you can blow and saucer and blow. And then you drink it out of the saucer like a little plate.
Well.
Hey, Joel.
Yeah.
Tell us just a little bit about Sweet Tea Films, where people can find Tavin. I'm sure he's back with Meemaw by now.
Oh, for sure. Tavin Dillard podcast. They can find that, wherever they listen to podcasts. Sweet Tea Films or TavinDillard.com. Both the same things.
Okay.
And that's where you can find all the work I'm up to and the stuff that I'm doing. I will say kind of what we've been talking about with, and I know you got to wrap up, but I've talked to a lot of college students over the years about their craft because a lot of people want to make it in film. And one of the things I've repeated, which is true for anything in life like we've been talking about, is one of the things I say often is you've got to, first of all, you can't just have a paper resume. Your portfolio matters in the arts, which means if you say I directed a film, it could have been a horrible film. But if you show someone your film, they can say, okay, you've done it. I said, so first of all, your portfolio needs to exist. Like you need to be out there doing the work before you get hired anywhere. The other one is be on time and be easy to work with. And that's true for but that's those disciplines that show up over time. And then it really is how you relate to people. I think Gary mentioned the coach's approach and how the players like, no, he wasn't mean. He didn't yell. He didn't show up and scream. But he worked hard. But there's actually a way to communicate, and I think some people buy into, well, that's great, but I can get stuff done this way. But over the long haul, if we're mistreating people and getting good results, over the long haul, you look back and there's a lot of damage that's been done that could have been avoided. You actually could have had a bigger impact if you kind of done it kindly or more, I guess, right in a way. So. That's something that I was thinking through about, this specific episode that you did, and then also just approaching kids and careers in general. It's like, it's true. Those things never go out of style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They work in every field.
Right.
Be easy to work with.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any field you go in, that's going to be helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
To that point, I won't say, I was going to slanderize an NBA player.
Whoa.
Another conversation that Shep and I had recently about probably one of the greatest NBA players that's alive today is basically untradeable because he's so stinking hard to work with.
There's several.
Cut that, Isaac.
We won't mention his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been interesting
Leave it
to
in,
watch
Isaac.
that. It's been interesting to watch this trade season because there's some pretty amazing players out there, and no one wants them.
The points that you're making there. You had these kids that were just hungry. I mean, you don't see that anymore. You had a coach that was compliant and loving and kind, and the reason he could do that, you got all these players just going, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, okay. I mean, I get to run 10 miles today. All right,
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. I mean, that was one time in the last 50 years that's probably happened, and they won state championships. And so it's just kind of proof that there's more to the recipe than just discipline, this. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff thrown in the pot.
Yeah.
And it's tough to get it. In this day and time, these kids, sometimes they're called snowflakes and things, I think I'm probably an old snowflake. But, I mean, it's just our society, we're so impressionable. I mean, you can just tell a kid he's great. He thinks he's great. You can tell him he's terrible. He thinks he's terrible. Mm-hmm. It's kind of dangerous, really. And we're telling our kids a bunch of stuff today that, might not allow them to win a state championship.
What if there was just no state? What if they finally got down to the final game and they were just like, no, we can't do this.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, or everybody gets a trophy. They're like, no state championship game. You don't deserve it.
Get back into reality.
Yes. Well, Great podcast. Joel, is there anything else you want to tell us before we leave?
I think I've told you everything I know.
You told
as
it
far as
all.
I know, everything in my head. It's been
Great.
Thanks.
Well,
I appreciate you guys having me.
Check out Tavin Dillard on TikTok and Instagram. All you cool young people like me that are on TikTok, all these other old people, like everybody in this room, everybody in this room except for me. Joel Berry is not on TikTok.
You're not on
Tavin's on TikTok.
Tavin is, but
Hey,
Joel's not.
correction. Oh, what do you mean on TikTok? Okay.
Do you have TikTok?
But I got rid of it once I found out what the Chinese are doing to us.
Here, so did I.
I mean, first thing
can't
on
have my
TikTok,
data.
first thing on TikTok, I had to go through and clean it up.
Yeah, because it's filthy.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Oh, wow.
And so I went through and said, I'm not interested.
Right.
My carnal side was going, what? But, you see, clean it up and it's really, really good. But then I find out that they're checking on me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I tend to
They
believe
ain't going to get me.
because we used to hear that 3 or 4 years ago, and we just kind of blew it off. And now it's coming up again.
Well, I think, just to be fair, I think that TikTok, Facebook, Instagram,
All of it.
all of them are checking on us. I mean, everybody's got our data.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I'm so self-righteous about it with TikTok, but it runs your
Just
battery
because
on
it's
your
China.
phone.
Just because it's China.
Battery management.
Yeah, battery management. I think that it's a real testament to how cool Clay is that he's on TikTok because he refers to it as the talk.
Wow, that's even cooler.
And I'm not even sure that anyone else refers to it as the talk, but
When you put the in front of it,
yeah.
the Walmarts.
Yeah, exactly. The Facebook.
The interwebs.
That's right.
Our kids laugh at Clay because he listens when he doesn't really spend a ton of time, believe it or not, on Instagram or
No, he
TikTok or
does
anything.
not. That's right.
But when he does, he watches the reels all the way through at full volume, and apparently that's not cool because when he does it, all of our kids will look at each other. And I mean, he puts it at, and Clay can't hear great, so I mean, the volume is like super.
And he doesn't listen.
Super loud. And so he's watching it, and it's like blaring, and we're all just watching him like, this is not how you watch. It's not how you do this. And he's just sitting over there laughing, and it's kind of funny. It's all the kids.
It's pretty entertaining, really. It's very entertaining to me. The one that you're in, the lady that goes down and opens up the rooster's cage every morning, she's got the robe on, and she's looking to see if the camera's going. She takes off running.
It's really funny.
That was you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, every day is like a battle. Just you have to work yourself up to get in there.
Well,
Gary and Misty have sidetracked. The end of the Bear Grease Render wrap up.
it's great to see everyone. Joel, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Tavin Dillard, check him out. Sweet Tea Films, and we'll see you next week on the real Bear Grease podcast.
Kid up. I need to know what I stand to win.
This show is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we've already done right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another. Or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you actually want to eat breakfast. In the last year, I've been more diligent about going to the gym on a regimented schedule, and it's made a lot of difference in my life. Therapy helps you find your strengths so that you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Grease today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Grease.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.